This video was a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. It appears to be.
On this episode of Doing the Most, we are going to taste through the 4 things that we brewed for the Mr. Beer video.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.
This, I started recording in September and the video released mid-December, and pretty much I was in constant state of brewing or bottling when I did this. And every time I bottled something that same day, I brewed the next thing. So these were all done in succession.
It's a lot of weekends.
It was a lot of work, a lot of Fridays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a lot of work. But I think it created a kind of interesting concept when you think about this Mr. Beer Kit and how single use it would kind of feel to receive one of these. Like, oh great, I got this and I brewed a beer, but now I have to go buy more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's that whole like give away the razor to sell the blades.
Well, and it's a lot easier to just toss that in the recycling bin. I mean, it's just a bunch of plastic. What do we have here today?
We have an IPA. This is the Mr. Beer IPA.
Okay.
If you'll remember, when I was brewing it, I was very concerned over how this was going to turn out. We've got a cider that was made with apple juice and lemon juice. Very simple cider. We've got a hydromel made with apple juice, lemon juice, but mostly honey and water.
Okay.
And this was made with honey that you dropped off.
Oh, okay, cool.
So you're gonna get to experience the end product of that. And then of course, a bottle of Skeeter Pee. This is clearly not cleared Skeeter Pee. But you know, the Mr. Beer makes it hard to clear things.
Yeah.
So if you look at these, you can see how clear these are. All that was done in the bottle, as evidenced by the film of yeast at the bottom. So we're gonna quick taste through these and let everyone know what we think.
All right.
First off, the Mr. Beer IPA.
I do remember that you were, I wouldn't say annoyed, that's not the right word. You were extremely concerned that this entire thing was a waste of time based on your thoughts probably in the mid-game of this brewing.
Yeah. I had a lot of concerns, mostly like process concerns, because it's so unlike how I'm used to brewing. Regularly throughout the process of shooting this video, I was like, this is not best practice. It's like, even in the directions, I should have brought him down from the Mr. Beer Kit. It's been retired up to the shelf.
Permanently?
Permanently. I should have brought him down though, because it talks about how you need to taste your beer to taste if it's done fermenting, and that's just really not best practice. You need a hydrometer. So anyway, look how dark this IPA is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a red ale.
It's got good carbonation though, for sure.
Yeah, those carbonation tablets do good work. Don't feel obligated to drink this all.
That's a good start.
I mean, I think it's not bad.
It doesn't stink or anything. I mean, it's not off-putting to the nose.
It's, for an IPA, it's more bitter forward than it is like hop aroma forward.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't control for that because the extract that they give you has the hops in it. It's hopped malt extract. So literally it's like a witch's brew of just, you're mixing it together.
I'm not loving the aftertaste of this one.
It's got a hint of rubber band to it. Yeah. And I noticed that in primary. I mean, overall, it's perfectly drinkable. The maltiness level is nice. It's kind of biscuity a little bit.
It is.
But like I said in the previous video, it's nothing to write home about. I'm going to give them props on they've concocted a way to make an IPA that's perfectly drinkable. It's just not great.
It's kind of weird in my opinion. It's kind of like there's a certain level of funk to it that I don't exactly know how to describe. It's earthy. It's like this weird earthy undertone that had to be from the extract, I would guess, right? Because at least that's where it had to be in the malt, I think, or something. It's almost like
it could be something from the yeast.
Plasticky, like a rubber band, but like I'm getting more like plastic, weird plastic flavors.
I mean, it was brewed in a
plastic
jug.
Container. Yeah.
Here's what I'll say about it. If I went to like a pizza bar and they said, we've got this one IPA on tap, and they brought me this and it was $3, I would order a second one.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I would probably do the same because it's $3. But if I paid $6 for this beer, I would not get a second one. I would change it up.
Change it up. So a lot of people seem to be under the impression that cider, like hard cider, needs to be made with like bougie, hazy cider that you get directly from the apple orchard. You know, you need to pay $12, $15 a gallon for the juice.
Right.
I have always been of the opinion that the cheapest apple juice you can find makes just fine cider.
I mean, that makes sense.
That's what we used here.
As long as it's actually apple juice and not a bunch of chemicals,
Right.
it should be fine.
So this was made with just like, I want to say it was like great value, cheapest apple juice you can get. A little bit of lemon juice to give it some zing.
Okay.
That's basically it. There was a slight back sweetening with erythritol, just like slight back sweeten. I'm talking, there was a teaspoon in this bottle.
Okay.
So not much erythritol to back sweeten. And this was brewed on the yeast cake from the IPA.
Okay.
So if you really search for it, you might be able to find a little hoppiness in there.
Okay.
No. Try it out.
Tastes like cider.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it tastes like it's very reminiscent of Crispin.
Yeah, Crispin or a Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real simple apple cider.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I don't have any complaints. I'm not getting any of the hops, but it might just be because we're chasing it with
just front loaded our palates with hops. Yeah. No, I like this a lot. I could easily destroy a 6-pack of this.
Oh yeah.
If I wasn't paying attention.
No problem. Not bad.
Yep. I feel like this part of the review is going to be lacking, but what do you say? It's good cider.
I mean, if you've had cider, if you've had, in my brain, Crispin is what I'm thinking of.
It is a lot like Crispin.
So
it's light. It's sparkly.
So Mr. Beer can do Crispin.
It's refreshing. It's lovely.
No, I like it.
This a lot.
I will be drinking more of this evening.
Enough patting ourselves on the back. So this is the Hydramel.
Okay.
This is made with the honey, like I said, that you dropped off.
Yep.
And instead of using citric and malic acid, like the powders, we use lemon juice and apple juice to create that acidity. And then instead of using powdered wine tannin, we used black tea. And then this was back sweetened with erythritol. About a cup of erythritol went into the whole 2-gallon batch. And so this, you've had the crispy Hydramel before.
Correct.
Many times.
Yeah.
Many gallons of that.
Basically my favorite thing.
This is that same recipe, but without the powders.
Are we going to be able to tell a difference?
I think it tastes very similar to the OG recipe. However, I think that the apple juice a little bit breaks the illusion that it's the same thing.
Okay.
Because you can just get enough apple flavor, even though I only tried to use enough apple juice to give it that malic acid boost. I may be wrong, but I feel like I detect just a little bit of apple in there.
That's a tough call. I mean, this is extremely honey forward. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about a flavor that complements apples very well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, I mean, yeah, I could say yes, but I can't really tell if it's the honey or if there is actually some like faint hint of just apple. It's hella good.
Yeah, I can almost use a little bit more tannin in there. It's just so hard to gauge tannin by cups of tea.
Right.
Right? Because it's going to be brewed a little bit stronger or a little bit weaker. And so using actual powdered tannin obviously gives you like definite control over what that profile looks like. But
if you put this here and you put another glass of the exact same thing but using chemicals, I would probably like the chemical brew better.
It would be easier to balance. I can tell you that.
But if I hadn't had either one, I would just be like, yeah, like whatever this is, I want to make it. And I want it. It's good.
Yeah. I think it does that job.
Yeah.
As far as being like a honey forward, crispy, sessionable mead.
Absolutely. And that honey was actually, it tastes good.
Did a hell of a good job.
Yeah.
It answers the question a little bit of, can you do this without using powdered adjuncts?
Sure.
Of course you can. Do you have the same level of control?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
That's just science. I mean,
So-
I'm gonna finish that as well. It's good.
All right, you've had this a bunch of times in the past too.
I have.
This is Skeeter Pee. So doing the math and making this grocery store friendly was kind of difficult. This is, I think, a little bit boozier than normal, maybe slightly less lemony than normal, but I tried to brew it in such a way that, or construct the recipe in such a way that it's true to the OG recipe, but makes it friendly when you're trying to shop for ingredients.
Sure.
Because rather than have to like buy a bottle and a half's worth of lemon juice or whatever, we just kind of crafted it to that 2-gallon, kind of a manageable way. Also, it's very not clear, but that's fine. Just like always.
It's lemonade.
Yeah. I mean, it literally just tastes like lemonade with a little bit of fermentation found. About a year is when it really like hits its stride. So for this one, instead of using powdered tannin, we used black tea. And I back sweetened this with sugar and pasteurized the bottles, or you could use erythritol like we did in here, and then you don't have to pasteurize. But I wanted to go ahead and show that pasteurization step,
Sure.
just as a like, hey, you can also do this.
But would you prefer pasteurization, or would
It's a
you?
huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, never, no. You have any profound tasting notes on fermented lemonade?
I mean, it tastes very similar to everything that I've tried that you've made.
Yeah.
That is Skeeter Pee.
Yeah.
In the past. I mean, it's successful. You can obviously do it in this plastic jug that has a spout on it.
You know, the tough thing about doing Skeeter Pee in this was that you have so much acid going into it. And your yeast requires so much nutrient to hit the finish line. Usually, while you're doing Skeeter Pee, you're doing pretty regular hydrometer checks because you're adding things at the sugar breaks. So
Right.
you're adding it at the 1/3 and 2/3 sugar breaks. You can't do that in a little jug that sits on your shelf, right? So I'm tasting it, like maybe we've hit the 2/3 sugar break. And so I just ended up suggesting the process that I did, which was nutrient and lemon juice at 3 days, nutrient and lemon juice at 5 days, and then just let it ride. And I gave it about 2 weeks after the last nutrient and tasted it, and it was dry AF. So it was clear that it had finished, but there was no instrument telling me that it was, other than my palate.
What would you say from start to finish? I mean, this is the kit that it came with is the worst by far. Like that's.
I think we knew that.
Yeah.
though.
I mean, you're paying. What do you pay for it?
$32, and that included. I was when I was editing the video, I went back to check what shipping was, and I realized the $32 included shipping.
Wow. I don't know. What's your opinion on the overall experience with the Mr. Brew Kit?
So I think that it's really easy with a good recipe to make something wonderful. It comes down to recipe, I think, for me, is what it is. If that's the thing, is that their goal is to sell you more cans of hopped malt extract.
Right.
And so I think it's perfectly achievable to brew something great in it, but you need a recipe that you're really gonna trust, and you need to be able to scale that recipe. And so the fortunate thing is I've brewed a lot of stuff.
Right.
So I've got a lot of notes about all the different things that I've brewed where I can say, okay, this is how I can make this one work. And all 3 of the things that we brewed in it worked. If you're just starting out, this is your first foray into brewing, the first thing you ever brewed was mixing this up and throwing some yeast in it
Sorry.
and drinking it a month later. And then you go online to say, what am I gonna brew with a Mr. Beer Kit? You're having to invest a lot of yourself into coming up with what ingredients go into Mr. Beer.
Which is arguably a good thing. Because beer making, along with mead making, along with wine making, and distilling, I mean everything, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of math. Like, you've got to get used to that. If you're turned off by having to do that kind of, research and recipe making and things like that, maybe it's good that someone bought you this kit, because now you can mark it off your list of, I made a beer and I'm done.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I bought my little 1-gallon kit I think it was great. I'm gonna make more things in it, and I feel like for the $4 more that I paid, it was probably way worth.
It's a way better deal. So you can follow us on Instagram and Pinterest at doingthemostok. Website's doingthemost.org, and we have a Discord. Discord.doingthemost.org. Microbes are our friends.
Some of them.
They've made all of this stuff.
Some of them are bad.
It's true. And that's why you should wear a mask.